Hello, Tiger fans, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Tiger Women's Lacrosse Report. My name is Ben Rosenbaum, and as always, I'll be joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Kristen Carr. Coach, thanks for taking some time for us today.
Thanks for having me.
So we're off and running, 2 games in. Let's rewind just a little bit.
Okay.
The Tigers reloading a little bit, lose some key players from last year, Lindsay Marshall, Lindsay Clark, Blair Goodrich, just to name a handful. How did that process go of having to have some new players step up into new roles and expect more from them so far this year?
Yeah, all the players that you mentioned were definitely key parts in last year's season, and I think whenever you get an opportunity, our goal as a staff and as a program is to attack the opportunity. So as the season goes on, I'm excited to watch the girls and the student athletes grow into those different roles.
So game 1 here at home, playing in Johnny Unitas Stadium against the Mount. A tough loss, 11-10. It was kind of back and forth. The Mount were able to string about 5 goals together at one point, and that kind of was the backbreaker at that moment. What was the turning point for you in that game where you were like, hey, we gotta try to maybe change something up or find a way to try to get a win in that one?
You know, we're always looking to win, no matter who we're playing, what we're doing, whether it's at practice or it's actually a game. And being able to compete with purpose is something that is one of our core values and means a lot to our team. And specifically for that game, I remember one play where Milana, she had like a killer mindset, so to speak, in the ride and got the ball back and were able to string some good momentum and ultimately had the ball at the end of the game and drew up a play and got a good look. Didn't necessarily cash in that time, but I think the team learned a ton from that game, and we worked as a staff and worked with our leadership and at practice to turn the tides going into the next game.
You mentioned Milana Zizikovic, kind of beat me to my question. That was an outing for her that we weren't used to seeing from Milana in terms of output. 2 assists, no goals, and only 4 shots on goal for her, but she found other ways to contribute. She's going to get a lot of attention from defenses this year with no Lindsay Marshall, no Lindsay Clark. How do you kind of instruct her on, hey, here's some other ways to find your shot and get yourself open, but here are some ways that you have to be able to impact the game, impact the team that aren't necessarily scoring the ball?
100%. I mean, she's a phenomenal player, and her presence is felt all over the field, and her absence is felt even more. And, you know, for Mo specifically, no matter where she is, whether she's up top or behind, inside, she's going to draw the top defender. She's going to draw 2 top defenders sometimes as far as like defensive schemes go, and to be able to handle that pressure and understand and navigate that you're drawing top defenders and potentially a slide to have your head up and be able to move the ball out of that pressure is something that she's worked on with her game, and it's just going to make everybody on the team so much better.
All right, we're going to move on to the Georgetown game. There's a very key person we didn't talk about from the Mount, but we're getting there, I promise. Right. So looking at Georgetown, a great game. 10-9, double overtime victory for the Tigers. And we talk about new players having to step up into bigger roles. Val Thompson, a hat trick for her. Osha Levy also had a great opening week. Who are when you look at that team, who are some of those players now that you're like, here's where we're expecting a little bit more from than we were last year?
You know, I would say that's for the whole team.
Yeah.
You know, even for the freshmen that have had a chance to participate and compete in some of the games, like every game, our goal is to get better and to stay more confident in ourselves and our team, and to trust the process of where we want to be at the end of the season. Specifically talking about a couple people, Val has like let loose this year, from the draw to being able to be more productive on the defensive end and on the offensive end. She's a dominant force, and Osha has stepped up her game tremendously, and the confidence that you can see pouring out of her is so exciting as a coach, and to have different light bulb movements was huge. And then you know, you can't go without talking about Jenna in the goal. She made some huge saves and really helped be the backbone and anchor of that defensive unit to continue to keep us alive through overtime. I think she made 2 huge saves during overtime that we were able to get the ball back and ultimately take the victory on that one.
Yeah, let's. That's what I was alluding to. Let's talk about Jenna Cardino in the Mount game too. 13 saves, 15 saves against Georgetown. A well-deserved CAA Rookie of the Week award for the goaltender. Talk about her, because with the Mount game, they maybe have a bigger cushion, and you guys don't have that opportunity at the end without some of the plays she made between the pipes. And then in Georgetown, you guys go down on the disadvantage. I think it was 7 players to 4 players at one point, and she made 2 huge saves to keep you guys in it. I mean, for a freshman to walk in with that confidence level and just know that she's got to step up. I mean, it's been a while since the Tiger fans have seen a freshman goalkeeper in goal. Ironically, also wore number 77. They went on to win the conference that year, so a little foreshadowing. But what did you make of her and just her confidence walking into the season?
She is so humble. I don't think she still understands how good she is, if I had to be honest. But she's in between the pipes, she's doing her job, and she wants to be the best teammate she can be. And her job is to save the ball more times than she lets it in, and she definitely did that against Georgetown.
When you have a freshman goalie, what's the key to making sure they develop and not, they're going to have some times where not everything's going to go the way they want it to go. What's the key to keeping their head right with such a young goalie who may not have the college experience yet of going through the rigors of a season?
Belief, and belief in herself, and belief in the fact that we trust her back there, and credit to the defensive unit, minus the 7v4, which some of those happened in the ride. But, I think regardless whether we were even or we were player down, the group of defenders that were out there knew that they were going to be able to put her in a position to make the best save that she could, and she was able to be able to perform in those what most of us would see as pressured situations, but she seemed to gravitate towards them and want them. And ultimately, at the end of the day, she was able to make the moments count when they mattered most.
So I think one thing, if we look at both of those games, one thing I think we're probably working on, I'd have to imagine, is the fouling in practice.
Yes.
And I think Towson fans probably love how aggressive the defense is playing and trying to get the ball out, but there's definitely a line. How have you kind of addressed that and making sure that, hey, we're being aggressive, we're going to go fight for the ball, we're going to go try to cause some turnovers without putting our goalie and defense in a bad spot?
Yeah. We talk about discipline and staying focused when we're out at practice. Some of our cards are coming from the ride, or instead of just on the defensive end. And there's a new rule in lacrosse with green cards in between the 30s. So being able to meet your attacker carrying up the ball or defender carrying up the ball in space, and not necessarily being able to put as much pressure or contact on them, is something that we're working on. And we're calling fouls in practice, and we're practicing 8 meters and what those look like. So the goal is to be aggressively controlled.
Gotcha. So before we move on to upcoming, I don't want to get away from the Georgetown game. Roscoe with the OT winner. When you go from kind of the lows, oh my God, we're down 7 players to 4 here, to we just won this game in overtime. What was that like for that team? I mean, they showed great fight through the opening week, fighting back in the Mount game, fighting back in the Georgetown game, just to get that first one this season in such dramatic fashion. I mean, that had to feel good for the team and for everybody out there on the field.
Yeah, just to pinpoint Roscoe, I mean, she had the ball at the end of the game of the Mount, and she carried a lot of weight through that final shot, and to be able to, I think it was Mo, that again is always gravitating or garnering so much attention, and for her to be able to keep her head up and find Roscoe on a cut, and she just lasered the ball in the upper 90. For her to be able to finish that play, there was so much excitement and just being very proud of her, because you could let the moment overcome you, but she was able to really embrace that moment and believe that she has what it takes to put the ball in the back of the net. And if there were 2 people to be able to get the job done, it would definitely be a combination of Milana and Roscoe.
Great. So 2 games in the books, 2 on tap. First big road trip here for the Tigers as you head down to Florida to take on Jacksonville and USF. The Dolphins off to a tough start, 0-3, lost to the number 3 Michigan Wolverines, and then USF off to a good start, 3-0. When you look at this trip, obviously it's a big trip. Staying rested is going to be a key to this. But what are you looking at when you see Jacksonville and when you see USF? What's going to be the key here for the Tigers this week?
Well, you talked about fight with both the Mount St. Mary's and Georgetown game, and I think that same theme is going to carry us through both games. To be able to play Friday, Sunday, that's something we haven't done this year with only having 2 games under our belt, but it's a task and challenge that we're excited to take on. And to be able to play Jacksonville, a team that we played last year, and then to play USF, which is a new program. This is their first year being in Division I. There's a lot of opportunity to continue to be the best Towson team that we're capable of becoming.
Great, Coach. Well, thank you for joining us. Good luck down in Florida. And
thank you.
Bring back some wins, bring back some warm weather as well here.
No, that's the plan.
All right, the Tigers on the road this week. First on the 21st against Jacksonville at 3 o'clock, and then on the 23rd against USF at 3 o'clock, or at noon, excuse me.
Yep.
For the head coach, Kristen Carr, I'm Ben Rosenbaum. Thanks for joining us. And as always, go Tigers.